Hello, my friends. I'm your host, Mortimer James, and I would like to welcome you to the world of the creepy and the caffeinated, of conspiracies and coffee. Welcome to Tales from the Dark Roast. Depending on which reports you look at, Florida ranks anywhere from the top 5 in reported UFO sightings are down in the middle of the pack around 30-ish. Between all the military bases throughout the state, military testing installations in the Panhandle, and Cape Canaveral along the Space Coast, it shouldn't be a surprise at all that the number of odd things seen in our skies. And do I even need to mention the infamous Bermuda Triangle with its reports of missing planes, boats, and people? It all goes to show that my home state has its fair share of UFO, UAP, and USO stories to go along with all the Florida man news. Being a huge peninsula, it's also a sure thing to say that most of these sightings occur along the coast. Even when you're inland in Florida, you're never further than a couple of hours from the Atlantic Ocean or the Gulf of Mexico. When I was a teenager in the 90s, I remember hearing stories about the skies over Gulf Breeze, the waters south of Miami and the Bermuda Triangle, and all of this piqued my fascination with UFOs in my home state. As time went on, I heard stories from friends and family about seeing weird or strange lights all over the state. But the best I got was a handful of yearly meteor showers or the occasional shooting star. My guest for today, though, has had a number of sightings spanning an 11-year period of time from Panama City Beach to the state capital, Tallahassee. My friend and former coworker is joining us to talk about his UFO experiences. Welcome to the show, Jason Whiteley.
Oh, hey, how's it going?
Hey,
it's
man.
Good to be here.
Thanks. I'm glad you're here, man. It's been quite a while and hadn't talked in years. So
I know, only just a few comments or chit chats like online. This is it's good to see you, man.
Yeah,
I kind of wish we could like do this reunion style, like in a Pocket Change arcade or.
Oh man, the arcade
like that.
I don't even think the arcade's still there anymore.
I know, man.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. That's so sad.
Yep. Yeah, man. I wish I'd been able to make it up there to Furnace Fest because you ended up going to that, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Speaking of paranormal stuff, that's one of the highest haunted places in Alabama, famous by most of the ghost shows.
Yep. I actually did an episode with a guy who's been there and done some investigation at Furnace.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, that place is so scary that our lead singer, my old band, we all met there. Our lead singer did not want to go because he's scared of that place. He's been there before and he's had an experience.
Really?
Yeah, you should talk to Gene, maybe. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to talk to him about that, man, because I didn't know he's had an experience up there. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I see you drinking from your mug. What do you got in the cup?
I have it's from Boyd's Coffee. It's a place out of Portland. Portland loves their coffee.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Good Morning. It's a medium roast. I'm not getting so dark. But it's really good. I like it. It's really smooth. It's got a little chocolate flavors. I did it with a pour over.
Nice. Yeah,
I got like a nice glass pour over. I've been doing all my coffee with the pour overs now, like no drip. I think I get a better flavor.
Nice. Yeah, I've got I'm drinking some more Bones coffee. I got as an early Christmas present from a family member, and drinking Army of Dark Chocolate.
That sounds good.
Dude, it's so good. I've got just a little bit of like a plain creamer in here, and it tastes like I'm drinking hot chocolate with like a coffee aftertaste.
Oh, that does sound really good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I used to love my coffee, like first on, just make it taste like ice cream or chocolate, and just a little bit of coffee at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't do a lot of sugar and stuff anymore. Occasionally I will, but man, just a little bit of creamer. This stuff is delicious, even sweet. So
I'll have to try it.
Yeah. So let's get into this, man. You said you've had about 4 UFO, or what are they calling now, UAP experiences?
UAP, yeah, UFO. The Pentagon's going to change it up each time.
Yeah.
They love putting up smoke screens. To me, this is what I think. They love putting up smoke screens. They love keeping people guessing, and they love sensationalizing things to take away maybe from what they are actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I feel.
Doing that for years, so
yeah. So the new change to UAP, we're old school. I still call it UFO because that's ingrained in. But trying to switch the vernacular to that. But yeah, I would say about 4. There's one kind of questionable one I have in there too, where I think I kind of debunked actually thinking about it last night.
Nice.
So, but I can start chronological order.
Yeah, let's start chronologically, and then when you get to the one you're a little iffy on, we'll go into that a little further.
That's easy because it's the last one too. So
Perfect.
I think from what my memory serves, 2 of them might be a little out of order in between, but I know at least the first one because that's the one that actually changed my life, I would say. So.
And was that one in Tallahassee or Panama City Beach?
This is in Panama City. This is when I was 15, probably the first year that I lived in the Panhandle, coming from New Jersey.
Right. I forgot. I always forget that you were a transplant because I only ever met you after you'd been there for a while. So
after I started dropping my G's, I got a little of that New Jersey accent gone.
Yeah.
So let's see, I think I was 15. It was my first year in high school. And you remember in Panama City, they didn't have the school on the beach yet. So I had to take a bus all the way into town to go to school, which took like about 2 hours.
Yeah, because you lived way out on Back Beach.
Way out there, almost on the county line.
Yeah.
So when we woke up in the morning to go to the bus stop, it was still basically dark out. Stars were still in the sky. I'm walking up to the bus stop and I see my friend just staring straight up to the sky. And, we're 15. We did smoke a little marijuana back then, or cannabis. So I'm like, oh man, this guy, look at him. He's already so high. I was like, we got to go to school. Why would you get that high? And that's what I'm thinking at first. So I walk up and I'm like, hey, Nate, what are you looking at? I changed his name, just in case. Yeah. But, he's like, shh. He did one of those like movie things. So, from the Ghostbusters, like, listen, do you smell something? Yeah. But no, he gives me the shh and just points. And I'm like, what are you pointing at? And he like, with his fingers, he guides my eyes to some stars. I'm like, okay, yeah, stars. He's like, no, wait. And I'm looking, and then I finally see one start to move. And I'm like, okay, dude, that's a satellite. You can see satellites move. They look like stars. And he goes, no, wait. Okay, so I'm still watching, and that's when I noticed these things start doing things that are against what I knew physics could do with flight. I'm 15. I don't know too much about physics, but I did grow up wanting to be a naval aviator because I'm from the Top Gun era where, you grew up and you're like, oh man, I want to be Top Gun. So I studied a lot of flight, like growing up. I knew I could spot all the planes and tell you like what plane was, what its top Mach speed was, all that stuff. So watching it, the stars just move like in crazy patterns, like almost drawn like stars in the sky, or basically, they'll shoot real fast, turn 90 degrees and go just as fast the other way in a blink of the eye. And as seeing something like that, I'm like, wow, like I don't know anything that's out there that can do that.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Nothing that we know about anyway.
Yeah, nothing that we know about anyways. But watching that, I was just like, oh, that's crazy. The whole day at school, I couldn't concentrate because I kept thinking about that. I was like, what did I just see? I kind of wish my friend Nate didn't show me that because it boggled my mind. I was like, what did I see? And it's crazy. I was completely sober. I was the type of kid, I did like to smoke weed at that time,
right?
But I would wait till after school.
Right.
I don't do it before school. I don't do it at school. So it boggled my mind. I was like, what is that? It messed with my brain.
How long did it happen? Like, how long was this going on in the sky? Because I mean, I know waiting for the bus stop, especially out there, you could probably be waiting 30 or 40 minutes at a time, I'm sure.
It's hard to say, but I want to say at least a few minutes. It must have been going on for a few minutes for him too, because he was watching when I walked up.
Right.
And when he finally showed me, I saw, and we watched probably for about 3 minutes, but I think the bus came shortly after that too. So I don't know if it continued or if it was just, at that time of night, that time in the morning, not that many people are awake. Maybe it is like government test for maneuvers and stuff. They have their special space force with like whatever new
Yeah.
technology they're doing, or aliens just don't follow the same timeline we do.
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
Well, and I mean, and in the Panhandle, so not a lot of people, I don't know how many people are aware, but there are a lot of military testing facilities up in the Panhandle.
Tons. Yeah. We got Eggland.
Yep. Tyndall, which is smallish, but they're still, that's where the F-22s were stationed for the longest time.
We also have the little mini Navy base, which was like a landmine Navy base, but the Navy is known to test more than Air Force and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Especially, in Hawaii, all the drones that they see. And the Navy's like, oh, we don't know what those are, but they're just like really weird drones that people capture on camera. Yeah.
So we've got all those. And then there's actually a huge bombing range up there that the Moab, the mother of all bombs, was actually tested up there. I remember when that went off, dude, you could feel it for miles. Like they put it in the news and warned people about it and everything. And then even when it went off, it's still just people were freaking out and calling.
Was that Eggland or no? That was Tyndall. They have the bomb testing site.
No, I think it was Eggland. I know it's just that strip of like pine forest that's up in the middle of nowhere west of Panama City. And you're not even allowed to walk through it. Like parts of the Florida Trail actually go through there. And you have to actually get permission to go through it.
That place, like before you get to Sandestin, I think, where it's like all Navy. Yeah, that's our Air Force and radar facilities and stuff like that. Yeah.
So there's plenty of chance that it could have been something that we don't know about yet.
Yeah,
out there running maneuvers,
or even just I've heard that they test holographic programs. They were testing. That's probably a conspiracy theory and stuff too, but I've heard, the Navy or the Air Force wanted to do holographic programs to mess with more fundamentalist armies, where they can put like, 7 horses like in the sky and then like freak everybody out. Then it's easier for them to come in and like fight a war. But that's just conspiracy stuff. I don't get it. And I saw what I saw, and my 2 ideas, it's either aliens or it's government testing.
Right.
My only encounters, I guess they call those, is that the first kind where you just see?
Yeah. First kind is see, second encounters are like, you have some sort of interaction, but not like direct interaction. Like you can like flash a light. Yeah, like you flash a light and it responds or something. And then
third kind you're on the ship.
Yeah, your actual alien interaction. And then fourth kind is the abduction, I think.
Oh, fourth is the abduction.
I think fourth, it's weird.
Because third kind, I do it from the movies. Like this means something, but I think I get it because they made a sequel called Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind, which I don't think anybody saw because how are you going to beat the first one they did?
Yeah. Oh man, I didn't even know that.
I think there's one out there, or maybe I'm just crazy and made it up. Mandela?
I think there's a movie called The Fourth Kind.
Something like that.
Which was like I didn't think it was. I thought this was like a found footage movie. It was like, I think it had Mila Jovovich in it.
Oh, okay.
And it had like it had aliens, but it was like the posters and stuff for it was like a big like a barn owl or like a woods owl, and she kept seeing it at her window, and then she regressed and remembered that it was an alien instead.
I've heard those stories. A lot of people have the same like barn animal one. I love those. Like this stuff fascinates me, and like I love talking about it, but I've definitely come across people that are like, oh, you're crazy. I'm like, look, I'm just telling you facts of what I saw. I'm not saying it's aliens. I'm not saying it's this, but I did see this. Speaking of that, that's one of the repercussions of this, being 15 and seeing this. When we got home and we told my friend's dad, he just made us feel like dumb kids.
Yeah.
And the whole time I was actually very mad about that. I'm like, no. Do not tell me I'm wrong, or do not make me feel dumb because I saw what I saw. And you're throwing these things to explain it at me like it's a satellite. I'm like, nope, I already went through that. I know what satellites look like. Yeah. And satellites don't move like that. If you're telling me we have satellites like that, that's like insane. And if we do, we don't know about them.
Yeah.
But it's like, I know what I saw. I didn't make it up that it started like making the 90-degree turns. But it's just like, older people, when you're that age, will discredit it and try to make you feel stupid and like, oh, you're just a kid.
Yeah.
And that was one like thing that was just like, that bothered me about seeing it and have to tell people the way people are like, you're crazy. I'm like, no, I'm not crazy.
Yeah, they're either super skeptical or, like you said, they look down on you for it. So
Yeah. And I'm
which,
like, look, I'm a skeptic myself. Like, I tried to do everything I could to explain what it was, you know. It
yeah,
wasn't somebody putting laser pointers in the sky,
yeah,
because they weren't green. They looked like stars, you know, the way satellites look like. So,
nice.
I mean, it messed with like my religion and what I thought about, like,
Faith, yeah, because a lot
yeah,
of
like faith and stuff. It's not
religion
in the
doesn't have
Bible.
yeah, it doesn't have a, I
Yeah,
mean, there are people that say it's in the Bible, like with the
it's
book of
angels and
Job, and
demons.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
and I've heard that as well, but I don't know, it doesn't work for me.
with the way the Bible wrote it, the angel and demon encounters were way different than just seeing something in the sky.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be like, oh, that's demons and it's the devil just trying to play tricks and take your faith away from you. I mean, we have this technological advancements. Who's to say that we didn't advance that far and it is just weapons tested that they're not talking about?
exactly. So you've had your first experience. It's
Mm-hmm.
been this life-altering moment for you. Where did you go from there with your second experience? How much along the road was that?
Uh, it's got to be within the next 2 years. I
Okay.
want to say I had my green hair at that point, my spiked green hair. I want to say it was 96. So it was probably like a year and a half after, because I was on a plane coming back from New Jersey, visiting my mom after a Christmas holiday.
Okay.
And, you know, the path when you're coming from the Northeast down to Panama City, there's a point where they just come and kind of hit the Gulf Coast,
Hmm.
and they follow the Gulf Coast along until they hit the airport, or the Panama City airport. So I had a window seat on the right side of the plane, so I could just look out into the Gulf. It was kind of dusk, nighttime. I want to say it was probably like 7 at night, maybe. So it was past dusk. It was dark out.
Yeah,
But
especially in wintertime.
yeah.
It's dark right then.
Now, this one's hard to say. It could have been a meteorite, because it's something that just dropped out of the sky, a big ball of yellow light that dropped out of the sky straight down into the Gulf. Now, the size of it would make me think that if it was a meteorite, there would have been a tsunami or something like that. Or there would have been like a crater explosion. I know we can have some big meteorites that burn up and, you know, small pieces come and really don't do anything.
Yeah.
But the size of it made me think that it was pretty large as far as like the ball of light. And it looked like, you know, this was a long time ago. I could be adding things that I remember, but I also thought it was strange when I looked out the window,
Right.
because I thought some of the ocean or the Gulf did light up below it as far as like I could see, but it looked like it dropped behind the horizon.
Okay. When you say it looked big, like what would you describe? So like if you were holding your hand up and, would it be like size of like a thumbnail or bigger than that, or?
I'd say bigger than that. You know, when you play the circle game
Yeah.
and you put the circle out and then you punch somebody in the arm if they look at it,
Yeah. And I
about
looked,
the
so
size about the size of the circle you would look at, and you're like, oh crap, I'm
wow.
getting punched. And that is big when you
That's,
think it visually.
unless you're right up on it, most meteorites that you see from a distance
Are tiny.
are tiny. You're only seeing
Yeah,
them because they're so bright.
exactly.
Yeah.
And this, probably at this point, we were going past the Eglin, the area of all the government testing stuff. And I've
Yeah.
heard about this stuff where people see crafts that fly down into the water, barely break the surface. You know, they'll get like a little bit of water, then the water calms. And these things like basically don't slow down. They just go into the water and they're fine. And they've seen them. So that's maybe what I saw. That one could be a meteorite, but the size of it made me second guess that.
Right. Because if it was
As
something
far as what I
that
saw.
big, there should have
Yeah.
been, I mean, that close, especially to the shoreline, there should have been something in the news or the media about it. And, maybe we can go back and maybe even find something now with access from the internet. But yeah, that's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, that's the second one. Hold on. Let me do a pause here. Let me talk to the grandma real quick.
Yeah, let me
Sorry
hit.
about that.
We're back recording. So
Thank
we talking about the size of the meteor or UFO or whatever it was, and so you said you did think that you saw light from it reflect off the surface or even part of the water.
I did, but it felt like it dropped by the horizon. That might have just been light tricks. You know how plane windows are. They have that like that bladder layer of the crappy plexiplastic and then like the glass and then like whatever other layer. So they have weird light effects, but the main thing that jumped out was the size of it.
Right.
Like either it was a small meteor that was really close or it was a giant meteor that was far away. And of course, it had to be about 3 miles out because it dropped behind the horizon.
Right.
So I think it's 3 miles, or is it 6 miles? You can see the horizon.
I would have to look it up. I honestly don't know off the top of my head.
It's within 3 to 6 or something like that.
So still a good ways off. And at that distance, that would be a huge craft to see.
It would be a huge craft, yes.
That big. So little over quarter sized, or
around like quarter size, a little over quarter size, I would say. Okay. So that was big to me, and
that was, you said, around 96 or 97.
I would say 96. Gulf Coast again. You know, same one, Panama City, within that realm.
Okay. And then, so from there, you had your third experience, which was, what'd you say, when?
Okay. So driving down Back Beach Road with my dad and stepmom. I wish they were still alive to corroborate this story because we all thought it was weird. Mm-hmm. We're driving down Back Beach Road. I'm guessing this is around 97. I don't know where we're driving back from. Yeah, I think it was around 97. You know, they all go back like back to back, the first few ones, but this is all Gulf Coast living where you see them, apparently. We're driving back and do you remember when they were doing the beach erosion project?
Yeah, they were pumping all the stuff up onto the shore, and
which I think they're doing again now.
Yeah, I saw posts. Me.
So it was the beach erosion project where they had the big like barges that were pumping the sand out from, past the sandbars where they had the tubes pulling the sand and bringing it on the beach and extending the beaches. So we thought maybe, it was a crane tower light because we see just a big light in the sky. And as we get closer to where the barges were, it's just a light just in the sky. Mm-hmm. That's all we see. Kind of looks like a bright star or like a bright beacon light on the top of a tower or something. That's what we thought.
What color was it?
I would want to say it was kind of whitish.
Okay.
So I thought, top of a crane or something, it's
bright star. Yeah.
Yeah. Bright star. I thought it was on top of the crane for the barges. Maybe because, it's just like we were distance off from the beach and where they were doing it. So at the height it could be that. But we drive up to that area and it's still basically the same distance away at the same spot in the sky. So we knew that was pretty far off.
Yeah.
Now, it's a weird one to see, just one that just stays like in the sky. It definitely didn't look like a star because it looked like it was in our atmosphere. Or it was just weird because when you look at it, you think, oh, okay, crane tower or the top of a skyrise, but there were no skyrises in that area.
Yeah.
So we just keep driving, and the whole time, like once we get closer to our house, we're like, what is that? My stepmom and my dad are like, what is that? Because we noticed it must have been above like Walton County or something. So that's the only thing. It's just a big bright light in the sky, but it was stationary basically the whole time. And we probably saw that for about, 7 minutes, our whole ride down Back Beach Road.
Wow, and it never appeared to move or anything.
It never appeared to move.
And it never got closer or further?
It never got closer or further.
So
and
it
definitely didn't look like it was actually in space or outside the atmosphere. It looked like it was inside. So we were like, it has to be like a crane thing. But when we got to where those cranes were, no.
You're driving right by them and it's still there.
Yeah. So I don't remember. I'd have to look it up. I'll see if I can find a news report on it, because other people, I think, reported on it, because I don't remember if this is a made up memory. It was so long ago, but I remember my dad saying something about that he saw like a small article on it where other people were like, what is this light in the sky? Because other people saw it. I mean, obviously it was like,
well, something that
it was big, it was noticeable. Like, yeah, if you were driving back beach, you saw it. So I should have looked that up to see that, but that was the simple one. Like, it's hard to explain. Could have been maybe a helicopter. That's what we thought, but there was no blinking beacons on it.
Right.
Like that helicopter would have to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I work for the sheriff's office down here in Tampa, and the airfield that our helicopter is at is pretty close to my house. So whenever they come up, I always see them. And even when they've got their spotlight on, it's very clearly identifiable as a helicopter. Even if they're really far up and far away and you can't hear them, you can still very clearly tell that it's a helicopter just because of the slight movement and the way the lights are.
Exactly. They hit air pockets all the time. So helicopters have a bounce to them. They move up and down. If you watch any, like the line workers, I love watching them on YouTube, that picks their guys up with a helicopter. That guy's constantly moving his stick like that just to try to keep it still to let his line workers get on. Because the way a helicopter works, they're not supposed to fly. It's probably one of the worst things you want to fly, because if that thing is going down, there's no way to glide it in.
Yeah,
but
you're falling.
Yeah, you're falling, basically. But yeah, you can tell a helicopter, and it did not look like a helicopter. You know, the best thing we could think of was maybe like some time a lighted balloon beacon or weather balloon.
Right.
That could be a big possibility, because if it was over Walton County, the Navy and the Air Force loves launching weather balloons or having some type of atmospheric like tester thing. But I would still think you have to have beacons on those.
Yeah. Well, what time of night or what time of day was this?
This was nighttime. I want to say it was in the evening, probably around 8. I think maybe they were picking me up from youth group or something, or I was coming back from a school event.
So it was full dark then?
It was full dark.
Okay. I'll say, because I know sometimes, depending on, I learned this from a UFO book recently, depending on when the sun is setting and how far up it is, it'll look really dark down here, but then the object is up where the sun is actually still hitting it.
So it'll be very bright.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if it was a weather balloon or something, that could have happened, but given the time of night, that's not a possibility. And I don't know if they have to light those or not, since they're military. But even if they did, I don't know what they would light them with.
I'm thinking maybe because they do have those weather stations out there too. Like, as far as my skeptic, I'm not going to call it a full-on UFO. It was just a weird light that stayed up there that I guess you could call it a UFO because we can't explain it.
Yeah, and UFO does not mean alien. It just means something you're seeing and you can't explain.
It's a simple term. It doesn't make you crazy because you can't explain something that you see. It's an unidentified flying object. I couldn't identify it. So, but then that's what we see. Or a UAP, an unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Yeah.
Phenomenon.
And then going back,
I like UFO better. It's easier to say.
It is. And then it rolls off the tongue better than UAP.
I like UFOs, not UAPs.
UAPs. And then USOs, I guess I should have explained this maybe a little earlier, but a USO is an unidentified submerged object. And
which I've seen a UFO. Maybe I've seen a UFO to a USO.
Right.
I always thought USO is where they get like the pretty girls to sing for the troops, it's an officers club, but
lots of pretty stars and things like that. I remember the USOs.
There might be a conspiracy there.
Maybe there's a link. Pretty girls.
Maybe.
And submerged UFO. Yeah, there we go.
We found where Hoffa is.
Him, Tupac, and Elvis all hanging out.
And Tupac and Elvis, and what's the other one? Andy Kaufman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
God, I'd love if that guy came back. That'd be like the ultimate, like, screw you guys prank.
I mean, everybody thought with the Tony Clifton thing that his manager took over that alter ego that, oh no, it's Andy Kaufman. He's not dead.
Yeah.
I think that was his last joke though.
Yeah.
He did that as like, I'm gonna make it linger.
Yeah, I'm going out, so let's have a little fun.
Exactly.
So we saw, so let's go back over them real quick, and then we'll go on to the
Yes.
fourth one. So we saw the lights probably around 95-ish or so,
Mhm.
that moved in weird ways, that not a satellite, not a plane that you were familiar with.
Nope.
Then we had the possible meteor, but a little bit too big to be a meteor in the plane.
A little bit too big for I thought there would be like, you know, on the news, like a big meteor hits like Gulf.
Yeah.
This tsunami warning, something like that, but nothing like that.
And then driving down Back Beach with your folks, the bright light that was in the sky for a good long while that other people even saw.
Same spot. Yeah.
Yeah. And so those were all within like a 2 or 3 year period, give or take.
2 or 3 year. And then, so a number of years, this is where it gets to like that 11-year time span. I would say even more, because I want to say this is 2006.
Oh, wow.
2007.
Okay.
So yeah, no, about that 11-year time span from the first one. I'm living in Tallahassee at the time, and my roommates and our group of friends, I want to say it was warm. It was either summer or, you know, early autumn, you know, where it's still hot in the Gulf Coast. It's still summer, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's December here, and it's like 80 something outside.
Yeah,
so.
No, exactly. So we want to do a camping trip. We know a primitive site that's I think called Braden Trails. That's 20 minutes outside of Tallahassee to the east, like heading towards Bluntstown or Bristol.
Okay.
It's kind of in between there.
Was it Torreya State Park?
No, it's before Torreya.
Okay. I was like, because I've been to Torreya a number of times.
Yeah, I think it's on the man-made lake.
Okay.
You know, where they dammed the one river, I think the Ockalochnee is the dammed river. So it's the lake that was created with the damming of that river. So it's basically a man-made thing they did 50 years ago or whenever that dam was built. So there's probably about a group of 8 of us, but only 2 of us saw this thing because, you know, the primitive sites is about a 15-minute hike from the park-in to the campsite. We carry our load, and of course, you know, we bring too much stuff. We're college kids. We also have beer.
Yeah.
So first trip, we bring all the stuff, the tents, you know, food, everything, we drop it off. But there's more stuff back at the cars. So, you know, we drew straws. 2 of us were going to stay back, set up the camp, start the fire.
Everyone else go get
the rest
stuff.
We're going to go back, get the beer. The most important thing when you're camping.
Yeah.
The necessities. So my buddy, we'll call him Bob, just for the sake of it. Right. My buddy Bob and I, we stay back and we set up camp, get everything set up, and we decide, you know, it's still going to take them about 10 minutes to get back, you know, 10 minutes to walk to the cars, 10 minutes to get back. Let's, we'll go chill like on the bank of the lake. We sat at the bank of the lake and just looked across. And over in the sky, we just see a big orange orb over the woods. Okay. You know, it's moving very slowly. And at first we're like, oh, you know, it's just a plane. We don't really notice it too much. And then I'm watching it more and we can see like, it looks like a big spotlight that's lighting up the trees kind of across the lake. So like, oh, maybe it's a helicopter. You know, the Forest Service has helicopters. Yeah. They especially like to look for wildfires or do maybe stuff.
Lost hikers or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Lost hikers. And we're watching. And I'm like, that doesn't look like a helicopter because it's not moving like a helicopter. I knew it wasn't a plane because it was moving too slow when I actually did look at it, you know, just slowly moving across, just very straight and slow with a big spotlight.
Okay.
So we're watching that. And I noticed it's a lot closer than we thought it was. So me and my buddy Bob are kind of freaking out a little bit because this is very close.
Right.
And then we notice it kind of turns and the big bright spotlight shines on the lake, like very bright. It's reflecting off the lake, and it kind of comes across the lake almost straight at us. Maybe a little bit like to the left of us, kind of going catty corner from us. So we get to kind of see it cross the lake, but that's when we're kind of getting up and freaking out because we were like, are we going to get abducted?
Right,
Like,
this huge orange light coming at us,
what
shining a
is
light.
this? And it was bright. So I think maybe we freaked out a lot about that. So we ran back to our tents and we saw it kind of, I want to say, probably 800 feet away from us in one direction, like fly over and head towards, kind of going towards like maybe the Tallahassee or the coast direction.
And were you hearing anything with it? Like no rotor wash or?
We didn't hear any noise.
Okay.
Like barely any noise. I think at one point, from what I remember, I hear like a woo, 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 kind of like that.
Okay.
So that's what we heard, like barely any noise, no propeller, like plane propeller, like hi, or any helicopter, like where it sounds like it just cuts up the air. So that's the end of it. We got really freaked out, and our friends come back up to the camp a few minutes later and were like, "Did you guys see that?" And none of them saw it. They were like, "No." You know, I don't know if they were just like looking down or concerned with like the beers. The beers were heavy, so I'm sure they were
enough beer for 8 people. Yeah, that's a load.
Yeah, they thought Bob and I were crazy,
right?
And we're just like, okay, whatever. We know what we saw. We can't explain it. It's really weird. We got freaked out, but then of course, you know, a few beers and then hang out with friends around the fire after that. We kind of calmed down and forgot about it and stuff. Yeah. And they're like, "You guys are crazy." Of course, they're picking on us, but we're like, whatever, dude. So there is that one.
And this is the one that you thought about it and you think you might know what it is, or you can kind of debunk it?
I think I can kind of debunk it now, because actually thinking about this one, I did think maybe at one point a blimp, but I don't know what made me think it wasn't a blimp when I did see it up close. Maybe the bright light was just distorting, so it was hard to see, but it did not have beacon lights. That's one thing that I'm still confused about. I'm going to say it was a blimp, but I'm pretty sure they still have to have beacons.
Well, and so with blimps, I know that they can look really weird, especially up close. So if it did get that close to you guys, maybe the beacons were just hidden by the body of the blimp. Or
actually like on the very top,
or on the top or on the back end, and you were only seeing it from a very specific angle.
But that's the thing, seeing it from across the lake, we did not see any beacon lights. That's one of the thought processes. If I see something or my friends see something and they're like, "Oh, look, a UFO," first thing I do is look for beacon lights, beacon lights. That's how you can tell it's, you know, an FAA aircraft. They have to have their beacons on. And I looked, didn't see beacon lights across the lake unless it was distorted by like trees or something like that. So the best I can tell, it was weird. It was still hard to identify at that time. We called it a UFO.
Right.
But, you know, sometimes beacon lights don't go on. Sometimes they're get turned off or they forget to put them on.
Yeah.
So me, like, I always considered that one of my UFO ones until I was thinking last night. I was like, you know what? If it was late summer, early fall, FSU has football games.
I was just about to bring that up.
I've worked with ESPN, and I know the blimp comes for the bigger games all the time. And its flight path is usually around that area because I think it comes from New Orleans.
Okay.
I think they said where it actually has its home base. I forget where it was, but I've talked to the blimp pilots before. And it was a super calm night, no wind. And I know they have certain windows where they need to fly. So if they get that calm wind, they're going to fly to get where they're going. So that's even at nighttime. Sense. And it would make sense for the big bright spotlight beacon. They needed to, or the big spotlight, they need to see their way through at night. So
maybe they're even warming up something, like warming up one of their lights or, you know, something like that. Because I know a lot of the or even one of their cameras. So I don't know if it's customary with regular cameras, but I know with a FLIR camera that our agency uses here in Tampa, they have to warm it up before they can start using it. And it takes them a while. So maybe they were just preemptively like, oh, hey, we're close to Tallahassee. Let's go ahead and hit this light. Let's get it warmed up and ready to go. And
I know their mooring spot where they actually moor the blimp, I think is it's a little west of Tallahassee. And we were, I said east earlier. So back to the corrections department, we're a little west. Of Tallahassee towards Panama City. That's why I think I confused you. Yeah, a little west of Tallahassee. So it definitely could have been the blimp flying from its New Orleans location, flying across their flight path, going towards the Tallahassee airport where they moor and tie it down until the game, like in a couple of days.
Or it even could have been, maybe it was actually leaving the mooring area and maybe doing a loop for whatever reason, maybe a test flight. And like you said, human error. Maybe they didn't hit their beacons at first.
Maybe
so you're seeing it immediately after takeoff, which also, if they're that low, would explain the spotlight. Like you said, maybe they're trying to get a bearing for where they're at, visual, what is it? Visual flying, visual or sight?
Yeah, visual flying.
Yeah.
I know they do radar, but they also have to do visual because they fly at a lower flight path.
Yeah.
So they need to see like certain towers and stuff. The other planes and flight paths, like they're mainly above like towers and things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, they're definitely flying at a lower flight path. They definitely want to fly under like the higher winds that you get in higher sky. So they have to do a lot of visual flying with the spotlight, especially if they're flying at night. So
that would make
one
sense.
Of my experiences I kind of saw last night when I was like thinking about the podcast. I was like, okay, I'm going to be on the podcast tomorrow. I was going over the stories in my head. And that's when I was like, oh, wow, hold on. I think I finally debunked one of mine because I was thinking about ESPN jobs too. And I was like, oh, that one makes me feel better.
That does kind of sound like a blimp, Yeah. And
even kind of the low hum at the distance it was, they have different propellers. I think they use electronic motors a lot.
So you would get that low electronic hum that you
would get that lower electronic hum that me sounded like a weird like pulse like radiation engine at first, but it was more of that like lower hum. So
nice, man.
But the other ones I can't explain away like that. So
yeah, they're not as easily explainable. That's so cool, man. And what's great is it all happened within 200, 300 mile strip of the, Florida Panhandle right there on the coast. And that's
of a high sighted area.
Yeah. So that's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us. And I like that you're able to be a little bit skeptical about it and not immediately go aliens. And
so I mean, I would love to. It's like, hey, come on, but I don't think I'd be the best ambassador because I'm like, hey, aliens, what's up?
Yeah.
You guys want to smoke a little pod? What's going on? You guys want to hang out? Where are you going to fit that? I don't like this, guys.
Yeah. So, well, cool, man. I know you've got, we're going to do a little shameless plug here real quick before we end up. I know I
love shameless plugging things.
Yeah. So you've got a couple things. You've got a gaming YouTube channel, right?
I do have a gaming YouTube channel. There's a few actual short films and sketches. I started it out as doing like sketches and short films.
Mm-hmm.
So I got an actual sci-fi for any paranormal sci-fi nerds out there. It's my take on a sci-fi hero, but he's kind of washed up and depressed.
I think I remember that one.
The Trip Johnson one.
Yes, I do remember that. God, man, that was a long time ago.
That's the first video. It's got the best amount of views I've ever had. But when I looked at the analytics, it's all basically in Ukraine and Russia. So yeah,
weird.
No, so weird. I have some Russian fans apparently.
And, what's the name of the channel?
It's a Bucky Fellini Gaming, and I can spell that because if you're a Dead Milkman fan and you're thinking you're going to spell it the way they spell it, somebody already had that name in most of the gaming in PSN network and all that. So I had to add an E. So it's BuckyFellini. Gaming, Bucky Fellini Gaming. You type that in, you'll see it. I got, a few video games on there. I like to play a lot of survivals.
Nice.
A lot of Minecraft, a lot of 7 Days to Die, a little bit of DayZ.
Nice.
If you like the zombie shooters, and also some VR that I've gotten into, which the VRs are really fun. I'm going to be doing a lot of new stuff with that.
Nice. Yeah, I saw you doing, I think the video you actually sent me was you and one of your buddies doing VR, like you guys only doing pistols.
Yes. We were playing Onward VR, which is a mill sim. So it's a difficult game, but the whole joke was he's a funny guy, and he was like, let's just get overwhelmed. He's like, put a 64 bots against us. And because I contacted him, I was like, hey, I want to do only pistols in VR or in Onward VR. I think it would be funny, but also good practice.
Nice.
Doing the sidearms, you get good with that. You're better with a primary. So we did that, and just only pistols, and we overwhelmed ourselves with the bots playing against us. So it was a super fun time. We throw our rifles away after each round, or at the beginning of each round.
Nice.
So it's a good one.
And then your second one that we're going to plug is one that's near and dear to my heart as well, which is
Tears Run Black, the metal band that was 2001. I know you were a roadie with us all the time. So
I remember driving you guys to and from a show in Tallahassee at the Cow House. I think.
Yeah, and we played the game, the band name game.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, you remember that?
I remember either on the way there or the way back. We were in, was it Robbie's Blazer?
Yes.
And the damn windshield wipers were on the glitch, were on the fritz. And I was or he was driving, and he's like, oh, I need you to connect this wire underneath the dash. I'm like, what? And I had to lean down like under the seat and under his, like in his lap basically, and like hold a wire so that the windshield wipers would work, because it just started pouring and we couldn't see.
One of those terrible Western Florida, like northern Western Florida downpours where you can't see anything.
Yeah, just 10 minutes of pure chaotic rain.
Good thing about it comes and it goes though, because I think we were only there for like 10 minutes or 15 minutes in that torrential downpour.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, I remember roadieing for you guys and driving around and having a blast, and that's Tears Run Black. And
Tears Run Black, we are on Spotify. I believe we have other things, but the best way to hear it is Spotify. It's our 10-year anniversary album that we put out called Who Haunts the Haunted.
And it's awesome.
It's very metal. We like to say it'll melt your face.
Or your Phoebus. Melt your Phoebus.
Or your Phoebus.
Yep.
But the Cosby things, you can't really go too far with. But it'll melt your Phoebus, which is an old inside joke. We used to have a skeleton named Theo that came with us to our shows.
I remember Theo, yeah.
Theo. But it's on Spotify. It's a memorial album and a 10-year reunion for our two brothers that were in the band. They passed away. R.I.P. Robbie and Joe McDonald.
Yeah.
Lots of love for them. They are our brothers, and we put this album out, and we just really want to share it with people. So it's on Spotify for free. Just go give it a listen and enjoy it. A lot of cool songs. We have some new ones and our older ones that if you did listen to us before, you'll know.
You'll recognize them. Yeah. Well, I'll put links down below to both your gaming channel and to hopefully the Spotify link for Tears Run Black. So
wonderful. Yeah, I think it's on there. If you need that link, I'll send it to you too.
Nice, man. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up again, man. I really appreciate you coming on the show with me today.
Oh yeah, it was super fun, man. It was good to see your face and hear your voice. Yeah. It's like hopefully I'll see some more stuff so I can come back on, or I don't know.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna be looking up a lot.
And hopefully maybe I still want to get together with you guys. So maybe next time everyone's in town, if I get enough warning and we're not short at work, I can get up there and see you guys.
That'd be great. I know Chris and Shane are planning on more Furnace Fests.
Nice.
And they want me to go. Oh, excuse me. They want me to go back, but I'll see what the money situation is. I just had a big surgery for my dog, so I don't know if I'm going to do it this year, but I'll be back probably at a Furnace Fest.
Nice. Yeah, we ended up having an emergency at work where we were super shorthanded, so I wasn't able to go. All my plans got changed. So
we were hoping you could come, but
Yeah.
I mean, next year I'll probably be able to pull the money and go. I want to make it kind of a yearly thing to get back up with the boys and hang
Yeah.
out, man. It was good seeing them. And if you're there with us next time, that'd be fantastic.
Dude, and we could maybe even shoot something there, just do like a big round table discussion about whatever we want. So
that would be great.
All right, man. Well, I'm going to get going. And again, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, man. So I want to thank you all for listening and remind you to check us out on all of our platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcast, and Instagram. Just search for Tales from the Dark Roast. Leave us a comment or a review and let us know if you've seen anything weird in the skies or waters of Florida. Stay tuned for future Tales from the Dark Roast episodes, as I'm hoping to bring y'all some special at the end of the year. And thank you so much for listening. If you have a dark story and you're willing to tell it, I have a pot of dark coffee I'm willing to share. I'm Mortimer James, and this has been Tales from the Dark Roast.